Well, hello. Welcome to the third episode of Two Weebs in a Pod. I am your host, Lisa Wallen, aka Lisa Wallen, and my wonderful co-host.
Hello, my name is ARUUU. Hi.
It is so crazy how we are wearing the exact same outfit and have our hair and our makeup, everything the exact same as last episode. It's crazy. It's like we were been in this room the whole time and did not come back a week later.
Yes.
What has been new with you for the last 10 minutes that I have talked to you?
I don't know. I mean, what's been new? Nothing.
Still VTubing since we last chatted.
Same old, same old.
Just being unstable. I think both of us too have had such like crazy years because this is something we can talk about is that both of us just made our 1-year anniversary at EG.
Yes, we have. I haven't really said anything because I'm still like in the process of kind of like re-signing, but
yeah,
once I sign everything, I'm gonna make a big post.
Yeah, I made a reel and then I might upload photos later. I don't know. I just did something because I was like, I need to post something. I need to make content all the time. But we've had a pretty crazy year for our first year at EG. We've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Especially when we went to Chicago and saw Bruno Mars perform for free.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, a lot of conventions. Evo together was really fun. Which is so funny. It's like a lot of people ask me what my job is, and I'm like, I don't know. Like I get that, like comedians a lot, like I have to be very careful when I talk about my job around comedians because everyone gets very jealous or they assume that I'm not allowed to complain about it. It's like everyone complain about anything they do. You can complain about streaming, you can complain about comedy. I'm allowed to complain when I'm burnt out from my job or like. But it is very funny when I do come to a show and they'd be like, how have you been? I was like, oh, I've just been traveling so much for work, and just doing all this fun shit. So it's just like, oh, I'm so exhausted. Oh, I hate that I get up at 10:30 every day to have a meeting at 11. Oh, God, my life is just so rough. Like, just like any job, it is going to burn you out. But it is very funny. Like, it doesn't even feel like I've been with EG for a year.
It doesn't. I was thinking the same thing. It doesn't feel like it.
It flew by so quickly. I remember when we first met.
I know.
I was like, oh, who is this innocent angel of a girl? I was like, she's like a little lost puppy.
The thing is, I feel like it's been a year, but it's so hard to plan to even do stuff outside of work,
Oh, yeah. It was very funny because when I got hired at EG, I don't think they really remembered that I lived here. So it was just kind of like, talking about moving expenses and all this stuff. And I was just like, I live in Kent. Like I live like 45 minutes south from you guys. And it was like, oh, okay. Because most people like moved out of state.
Yeah.
You had to move your whole life in Seattle.
I did. I moved my whole life to Seattle. The moment Nicole told me like, hey, come to Seattle, I dropped everything.
Yeah, it sounds a lot more ideal than Arizona.
Yeah, for sure. The problem with Arizona and the problem with Seattle is that Arizona is way cheaper. So yeah, obviously you're in the middle of the desert, but you're also saving money. Whereas like in Seattle, I feel like you bleed money, like genuinely.
Oh yeah. Seattle's also gotten so much worse over the years. Like my goal was to buy a house before I was 30. That didn't happen. I don't even live in Seattle because I was like, you know what? I want to be able to have a 2-bedroom apartment and still be able to eat. So
yeah.
But like housing prices here is like $900K median, which is insane to me. Like it's like I've been here my whole life, like I should get a discount, but it's not how it works, unfortunately. So I'm just stuck paying rent until I die. But besides that, like how are you loving your life in Seattle?
I like Seattle a lot. Obviously I have to be more careful. In Arizona I had a couple scares where people kind of doxed me and found out where I lived. And so that was really bad. So in Seattle, my apartment has like 24/7 security. So I can sleep at night, like knowing like nothing's going to happen. But I genuinely think like if I was in Seattle and I didn't have security or like somewhere that felt safe, I would lose my mind because it's so scary sometimes. But I like Seattle. I've always wanted to live here. But if I live here, I want to do it safely,
It's the perfect place for gamers, not just because we have Nintendo and Microsoft and whatever here, but also because it's shitty weather most of the year, so you just stay indoors and play video games.
That's what that's what I like, because I'm like always in my apartment. I don't like, I think in the past 2 weeks I've left my apartment like twice. And it's
This
like
is the second time.
it's not, yeah, it's
Last week's episode was the first time.
yeah. And like it's nice because I can stay in my apartment, I can feel safe, I can like work all day, but like especially back in Arizona, because I was in a house and it was always scary. I was like, dude, I said I was praying to God, like one day I hope someone doesn't show up at my door. Because I've had people like fly down to Seattle too and say like, hey, like I'm in Seattle, like, can I come meet up with you? And I'm like, no, I don't know you. I don't know if you're some psycho, like at an event, it's fine.
Be like, I'll have my bodyguard come pick you up because I'm like 10 minutes from the airport, and I'd be like, so what brings you here? And I'll just interrogate them. They're like, oh, this isn't Ari's place. I'm like, no, this is my apartment. Sit. My like Instagram followers kind of blew up in the last few weeks, or couple months. I got over like 40,000, which is way too much in a way short of time frame. And to me, it's like people are like, oh, that's so cool, you're blowing up. I'm like, no, because before I would like post me like going on a run or like going to coffee, and now I don't do that because it's like people can find out easily where I live. Like when I used to have like 20 to 30 viewers, I'd be like, oh yeah, like I talk about like stores around my house and stuff. And now I have to be really careful because like even though I trust my community, not everyone that's watching you is chatting.
Exactly.
It's like, you get 100 viewers and like 30 people are chatting, which is great, but like there's gonna be some crazy people in the mix of the 70s.
Yeah,
so like
for sure.
I started using close friends a lot more to like post like things in my neighborhood and stuff. But yeah, it's scary. And there was actually this really interesting article that came out a couple months ago about Amaranth, is that her name?
Yeah.
About how she had someone like show up to her house and all this stuff, and
he was streaming it the whole time.
Yeah. It happened to that Gabby Hanna girl too.
Yeah, someone broke into her house.
Yeah, and it's like people were consuming that like it was funny.
Well, Sweet Anita had a knife pulled on her by her stalker.
And it's like people look at that like it's like quirky or funny, and it's like, one thing, really take a moment to think about parasocial relationships and how that affects the people who are creating the platform. It's like, it's the same thing with anytime you get a harassment online. Like, even though that's like the least amount of BS you're going to deal with, it still hinders you from wanting to be fully creative. Because anybody, naturally, you'll get 1,000 positive comments, but you get that one negative comment that focuses on the thing that you're insecure about, that's going to ruin your day. Now imagine that, but it's in real life. It's like, yeah, so it is interesting. And I think one thing I love about EG, especially with our beautiful boss, Taylor, is that she will like check in with me, and she does the same thing to you. Like we also do that with you too, because we love you. But we do check-ins because it's like, this isn't a job where you show up to work and I used to work labor jobs. I used to like go stock milk in a freezer and such good shape, but I'm not anymore. But it's like I could show up to my job in a bad mood and it was fine and no one really cared as long as I got my work done. But the nature of this job is that you are you, like you're saying about the VTubing thing, is like it's you. Like you can't be in a bad or anxious mood. Like you have to be yourself. So
for sure.
Having those checks. And I had a meeting with Taylor about how like, lately I've met a lot of like really, I guess, in quote, more famous people in the gaming community. And when I would work with comedians or meet bigger comedians, it never fazed me because I think comedy is a really easy way to gain an audience quickly. A lot of people go into stand-up comedy to become like an actor, or they go into comedy just to get their name out there. And so when I would meet like famous in quote comedians, it was like, oh, okay, well that person just does comedy. But with gaming it's different because there's different dynamics in gaming, and there's a lot more work involved. And I was telling her it was really cool, and then she was like, Lisa, as exciting as this is, you also need to realize that you are becoming one of those people. And so you need to be careful about the relationships you make not just with your community, but with people in this industry.
Yeah, for sure.
So life
For
lesson,
sure.
guys. Don't trust everybody on the internet, and don't post the cool coffee shops near your house. Today we have a very fun episode, which I'm excited about. We are going to talk about anime movies. And now, when it comes to like when it comes to basic anime fans, or I guess normal anime fans, there's usually like a couple main directors. Like obviously there's Miyazaki and Takahata, I believe, is the other Studio Ghibli director / animator, and that's usually the main one because it's like Disney adopted all the Ghibli films. They got all these big actors to do the voice acting,
Ghibli.
which giblets. We actually found out it's Djibouti. So
yeah, Studio Ghibli.
It's Studio Djibouti now, as someone call it. Because they got, I think that was like the big head start for at least, I guess, the second wave of Japan animation coming to America was the whole reason why I started watching anime movies. And this is 100% true, is that when I was in high school, I was disgustingly obsessed with Christian Bale. And I watched all of the Christian Bale films, and I had no idea that he voiced Howl in Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh, did he really?
He did. And so that was my introduction to anime movies, is I was like 14 years old and was like, I need to watch all Christian Bale stuff. And so I watched Howl's Moving Castle just because he voiced him.
Wow.
And then I was like, I actually really like this movie, even outside of the voice acting, which my opinions on actors using real actors for voice acting is that's a whole nother episode. But it was very funny hearing him go from being Batman to being like this Bishonen.
You don't like
boy.
Chris Pratt as Mario?
We haven't even heard him yet, and I'm terrified for when we do. You know, as far as that movie goes, the best casting they have is Jack Black being Bowser.
That's very good.
And Charlie Day being Luigi.
Yeah.
Because they both kind of
I
fit
agree.
those roles.
I like the voice casting for Mario, but yeah, I want to hear everybody first and see what happens because I like Jack Black. Wait, isn't Seth Rogen in it too?
Probably. Maybe he's like Toad.
Something like that. He's some obscure
I thought
character.
it was a meme when it came out. So
I know, I'm so excited.
I'm not surprised what it's going to turn out to be.
I hate that they made what's that stupid guy's name? What's his name?
Chris Pratt?
No, he plays Deadpool.
Oh, Ryan Reynolds?
Oh, yeah, Ryan Reynolds. They made Ryan Reynolds Pikachu.
Thank you.
I was like,
oh my God.
I was like, God damn it.
So many people
disagree
with me when I say that. I was like, I did not like Detective Pikachu. No. I was like, why? I was like, because
he should not have been.
Pikachu should have been like either a very adorable voice or Danny DeVito and nothing in between.
I agree.
There should have
Danny DeVito for the meme because there's like history behind it, so that would have been awesome.
Right?
If they did it, that would have been awesome.
For me, it's like no disrespect to Ryan Reynolds, but it just seems like we got to put a big name in there to get people, like, as if Pokemon is not a big name.
And the thing is, they could have easily, if they had made Danny DeVito Pikachu, one, I think the internet would have just blown up completely. Two, remember when they made Shaggy into like Ultra God mode in Multiverses and everybody freaked out? As they should, because it's like you are taking something that fans have created themselves and made it canon, which is so powerful.
Same thing with like, well, it's also the opposite spectrum too when they took Matthew Lillard away from being Shaggy, because that's who Shaggy is.
Yeah,
like it's just. Yeah, this is a whole. I could go deep into this voice acting shit.
Sonic. They fixed Sonic after fans were clearly upset, and they took the care and
bullying
love and
works
fixed
in
it.
Some ways.
Know? Yeah,
but no one
bullying.
No one bullied Pikachu as Ryan Reynolds. Not enough, at least. But
dude, I don't get why. Okay. Well, the Ryan Reynolds thing is for another day.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we agree on that, because I voiced that and everyone's like, "You're wrong." I was like,
no, I think they're crazy.
You're wrong.
It's because they like jerking off Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. You gotta jerk off Danny DeVito. It's way better. Anyways, transition back into our normal topic. So, yes, I feel like Studio Ghibli is probably like the main thing that you're gonna think about when it comes to anime movies. Mm-hmm. But there's been other directors as well that have I kind of like pushed their way towards the top. Like, I'm gonna hopefully say his name right, because I'm terrible at saying people's names in Japanese and got a lot of shit for it. But Makoto Shinkai, who did like Your Name. Weathering with You, 5 centimeters of, what was it? The 5 centimeters per second.
That
Yeah,
movie's
I
good.
wrote down a bunch of his movies. I had to write down a bunch of his movies because hot take, they all look the fucking same.
Well, they are. I mean,
they all are the fucking same.
they are, yeah.
Like, I'm a huge Mamoru Hosoda fan. He does like Boy and the Beast, Wolf Children.
Oh, I love Wolf
And he
Children.
did that Digimon movie way back in the day. Like, I think it was like 2006. And I watched that Digimon movie. I want to rewatch it because I still think to this day having Digimon be anytime they take an anime and kind of change its art style, and that was kind of a big risk for him because it changed the normal art style for Digimon. I think like that's so fucking cool, but I didn't appreciate it when I was younger.
Yeah.
But like his movies, they all have different, they at least have completely different plots. I think Shinkai's movies are all, they're all the same plot. It's all rather gathered around some sort of couple that has some sort of limitations to their romance, like Your Name.
Yes.
And 5 centimeters per second is like 3 different ones entirely.
Yes.
And then I never watched his newest one.
Withering with You.
No, he had another one that came out. Didn't it start with an M?
Oh, I'm gonna eat your pancreas.
No, but I've seen that movie and it's not good. Wait, did you
really?
like it?
I didn't watch it.
It's terrible. I watched it not knowing that it was what it was. I thought it was just a funny title. Like, I want to eat your pancreas. And it turns out it's about a girl coercing a guy into falling in love with her before she dies. So it's very...
Whoa.
Yeah, it's like A Walk to Remember if it was toxic.
Whoa. You just saying that sounds so toxic. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's not... I don't know. People are probably going to...
That sounds like Am I the Asshole post on Reddit. Like, hey, am I the asshole? I coerced a guy into falling in love with me before I pass. Am I the asshole, Reddit? It's like, no.
And she's a dick to him the whole time. That's the funniest thing is like... I like there's a lot of really good like anime romance films, and it is hard, I think, with the nature of anime because anime requires so much characterization and build up that it's really hard to condense that into like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like most anime films feel rushed to me because it's like they have to introduce everyone and then they have to introduce the plot and they have to end all that within 2 hours.
Yeah.
And so it's easy for like Shinkai to have a bunch of these like mundane romantic plots because it's like we can just at the end they're gonna fall in love.
Yeah.
Like it's just like we've already gotten the ending, we just have to fill in the meat of it.
Did you see that one anime movie? I haven't watched it because I can't handle it right now, but she's like in a wheelchair and she has like short blonde hair. And she falls in love with another guy.
No.
It's like called Tiger Bunny or something like that. I'll figure it out, but it looks really good.
I know Tiger and Bunny, the superhero.
Yeah, no,
I have not seen that. But like there's also like Hosoda has, you know, Boy and the Beast where the boy... Have you seen that one? That one's really good. Like he basically goes into this universe where he meets like this giant beast man who is oddly sexy, and then he teaches him combat, and it's really good. And then there's Wolf Children about a woman who has kids. Oh my god, that movie makes me cry so much. It makes me cry
so much.
Even though it's like yeah, she like slept with a werewolf, which is, you know,
good for her.
Good for her, you know. But the children part of it, it's like, oh, you're raising a dog and a child. Oof. Yeah. And then they move to the mountains and it's all cute. And then the ending is fantastic. But like for me, it's like if I'm going to choose one of those 2 directors, it's going to be Hosoda. But there's also like, you know, other ones as well. Like I'm a huge Satoshi Kon fan. So like Perfect Blue. Have you seen that? Or Paprika or any of his films?
Oh, I've seen like snippets of Paprika, but I've never watched it.
It's basically anime Inception.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Inception stole its ideas from.
Oh, really?
It came out before it, and it's essentially the same film. The only difference between Inception and in that is that Inception's is more like a heist based.
Okay.
Versus Paprika, that's more like a mystery based type film, and it's so good. But like, you know, rest in peace. Unfortunately, like, you know, he's no longer with us. But like he was pretty much like the for me, as far as like, because like 1980s anime, you had like Akira, you know, which to me is one of the greatest films of all time. But like when it came to like the late 90s, early 2000s, like we didn't have that same kind of animation anymore. Like everything was trying to switch more to like a digital format.
Yeah.
And also like I mean, the same thing works with Disney. Any Disney movies that was 2D back in the day, you're watching it and animation is so fluid.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it was based on a budget thing or a popularity thing, but they just don't invest the much resources they did then than now. And as far as like anime goes, like I recently heard that there are more anime that have come out in the last 10 years than there's ever been. So like
Wow.
the industry is growing, and because of that, like the budgets for these bigger films are now being pushed to series. And so yeah, like they're not going to invest the time. So it's like you had Satoshi Kon making these incredible films that you still don't see animation that levels up to it today. And the closest thing I could even relate it to is probably like something like Mob Psycho. Like we don't get that as much anymore. Now all the anime movies we watch now is Shinkai and like anime shit like Demon Slayer and I guess like Dragon Ball.
Yeah. No, Dragon Ball, for some reason, Dragon Ball went with like some like CGI 3D animation, which it wasn't bad.
Was it Toei that did it?
Yeah.
Like Toei animation? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And they went with like some 3D CGI-esque animation, which like you get used to it, but it was just, I feel like it was a questionable decision. Have you watched Air?
Which is Air?
She has some sort of cancer and she kind of builds a romance, but it's
Yeah, so I saw all that shit on Twitter.
Oh.
Yeah, but I don't know what it is.
Oh, it's so good. It's like it came out back when I was in elementary school, and the way they build the romance is very natural and very
okay, maybe
quick.
I'm thinking of the bubble one.
Oh, yeah, no,
Air
I
bubbles,
wanna
bubble air,
that
you know, same thing.
Bubble looks really good. Bubble looks really good. It's on my list. I just haven't watched it. Have you seen Hal?
How? You're
Hal,
just giving
H-A-L.
I was like, you're just giving me random one-syllable words.
Well, you're
Have you
talking
seen
about
Air?
like the
Have you seen Hal?
romance.
Yeah.
You're talking about like the
Yeah.
romance ones, and so the Hal one is really good. That's like very much a mind fuck.
See, I
But
like
it's
a
like a
good-
nice romance.
If I'm watching an anime movie, I want mindfuckery.
It's
Like,
really good. Hal, like for people who are watching who've watched Hal, they'll tell you it's really good. Have
Like-
you watched? Wait, what was it called? The Forest of Fireflies. What's a Ruby no Morie?
Oh, I've seen Grave of the Fireflies, which oh my god, that's
yeah,
the most
the
depressing film I've ever
Good
seen in my
movie,
life.
Grave of the Fireflies.
You know, Grave of the Fireflies was so sad that I actually had to turn it off after 30 minutes and read what happened and bawled my eyes out.
Really?
I've never bawled my eyes out reading the summary plot to a movie. Like that's how
I've
sad
heard
it
it's. I don't fuck with sad stuff. If I know it's sad, I don't touch it.
It's sad on a different level. Like I like a good anime that makes me cry because it's like I want to feel something, you know? But
Yeah.
that movie is meant to traumatize you and teach you that war is bad. I
Yeah.
already know it. I don't have to see what happens behind
Yeah.
the scenes when things get blown up and people lose their families. Yeah, it's really good, but it is definitely a very traumatic. It's very traumatizing.
I've heard it's pretty sad.
Do you have I'm a huge dork. I made a list of my top 10 favorite anime movies. Do you have anyone you want to talk about? Because I'm gonna go off my list right now.
Okay. Makia. Makia was a really interesting anime movie. I liked it, but it was so long and the pacing felt very strange.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
No, but I feel like that's the biggest issue with anime movies to begin with.
Yeah.
Is like pacing is either rushed or they
Pacing
have
is
to split it in
really
parts. Like
very odd.
like my favorite anime movies of all time are the Kizu Monogatari films, which is funny because I never finished the Monogatari series.
I didn't even know they had movies.
It's the series is so fucking wacko. Like for me, the worst fan base is the Monogatari ones online. They're not as bad now. I take that back. 5 years ago, the worst because they're like, you know, this is the greatest anime of all time. And for me, it's like it is really good. It's very dialogue heavy, but there's some weird incestual shit that happens in it. That
I saw
not...
the clip of the brother brushing the girl's teeth. I was like, yo, this is awesome.
And there is and for me, it's like it's not the greatest. Anybody who sells me it's the greatest thing ever, I hate it because you're setting my expectations way too high. You
I
should
watched
just tell
the first
me,
episode.
just tell
and
me
I
it's
was like,
good.
yeah.
But Kizu Monogatari films are technically the prequel to the anime, and they're really good. The animation, because it's Shaft, is absolutely mind blowing. But they had to make
Wait, what is it called?
Kizu Monogatari.
No, the animation.
Shaft is the name of the studio.
Thought I heard wrong. I was like, hold up. I thought I heard wrong. Okay.
What's the name of the studio? Shaft. Interesting. They also do like Marge Comes in Like a Lion, which is another great anime, but yes, they're called Shaft Studios. And those movies they had to make into 3 parts because it's such a long plot. So it's like I had to buy all 3 movies, which was like $80 to buy them. But it's like that right there, it's like all together is like 4 hours, and it feels like if you break down a 12 episode anime.
Did you watch the No Game No Life prequel?
I watched the anime and it felt like a budget version of Kizumonogatari almost, where it's just like it was really good because I really love the first episode. It's so colorful, but then it gets into that weird incel plot part where it's like, and everyone's like, you just gotta give it time. It ends really
it's
well.
really very incelish. The movie
incelish, my new favorite term.
The movie was so fucking long and drawn out, and the only time the movie was interesting is when Jibril came, started wrecking havoc, you know, and then you're like, oh, finally, it got good. By then, it's like the end of the movie.
Hold on, I gotta pay for my parking again. But I forgot.
I'll take over.
I forgot what the number was.
I like Hall. I like Hal. I like Makia. Makia has weird pacing though. I like Air. I like, what are some movies? Ooh, well, I guess Advent Children would count as an anime movie. I don't know if this counts because it's not like technically like anime, but Dante's Inferno, the movie on Netflix, each level of hell had a different animation style.
Wait, is it a Japanese animation or is it like?
I know there were like animators that might have been Japanese, but I don't know if it's like technically Japanese style animation, you know, but it was really, really good.
I just wish there was more Western version 2D animations.
Castlevania was fucking awesome.
But that's like, for me, the only one. You know, like, I guess they did the Dragon's Dogma one and they did like the Dota whatever.
No, those suck.
Like, it's like...
Arcane doesn't count as anime, does it?
No, I mean, that's more like Into the Spider-Verse type stuff.
I feel like that too.
I feel like Western animation has just shifted.
Avatar.
But it's like old. That's the thing. It's like older. Any 2D animation now has turned into like adult themed.
Yeah.
Like anything that's like catered towards children or younger audiences 3D, which is fine, but like there's a different type of personality that comes out of the characters. Like everything now is trying very hard to be more realistic. Like everything's like mocapped almost.
Yeah.
Versus like 2D animation, where the whole reason why anime, we talked about this with the English versus Japanese voice acting in Final Fantasy. The reason why it doesn't work with Tifa specifically in the English voice acting for me is because animation, the Japanese voice acting is so expressive and it's really hard to convey.
You said Tifa, it's giving me anxiety, bro.
This is not her safe word, by the way. There is one anime movie I want to bring up that I really, really love because we've gone through, you know, like the giblets, the cones, whatever, is Redline. And this is a movie I love to talk about because not a lot of people have seen it, but Redline came out in about 2009. I think it was 2009. And it was a madhouse animation that almost caused the studio to go bankrupt because the entire animated movie is hand-drawn. At over 200,000 hand-drawn animations, like cells. And it looks like it's been animated CGI, but every single frame is hand-drawn. And it took them almost a decade to create the anime. And it's like Death Race. It's really good. And the English voice acting is incredible, but it is terrifyingly like how much they put into it. It's like almost like a Tim Burton film in the sense of like the amount of production and the amount of production and amount of effort they made to create a 2-hour film. That is one I recommend everyone, especially if you want to study different types of animation. For me, that is one of the greatest. It's not even close to my favorite movie, but it's one of the greatest pieces of animation I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Like if you look at like GIFs of it, GIFs, I don't know what you call them. Like it looks like just an animated scene.
Yeah.
But it's all hand drawn, which is crazy. So crazy to me. Did you ever watch any of the Trigger animes? Like, did you ever watch Promare? Okay, you didn't miss much.
Really?
I mean, I love Trigger animes. I loved Promare, but it's all, to me, it's like, it's kind of like Your Way with Dragon Ball. you don't really get super emotional vested in it. You're just there
Yeah.
for the big booms.
Yeah,
and the big,
I am.
You're
I
there
am
for the
for
big,
sure.
big scenes. Like, you're not really
Yeah.
there because you want to be emotionally invested in the story. But that is also a great piece of like, look at what a really good animation budget can give you.
Yeah.
And Promare is the example of that. And I get really excited anytime I see Trigger anything, even though it's the same thing. It's big, homoerotic
Yeah.
characters and their giant sexy robots.
Belle had a really good animation budget, I feel.
I really want to watch.
see it.
I really want to watch the English version of that because
Because of the singing, right?
well, yeah, and also because what's her face from Euphoria voices Belle?
Oh.
Hunter Schafer.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she voices in there, and I know that she's like a giant weeb, so I'm like,
Really?
it's probably really good. What other anime movies I have on here? Well, I grew up mainly on like my favorite movies growing up were the Sailor Moon movies. Sailor
Yeah.
Moon movies and Pokemon, obviously.
Yeah,
Pokemon, the first
obviously.
movie. Pokemon
Obviously.
2000. I remember seeing those.
Pokemon movies were great.
I remember seeing those in theaters. Pokemon 3 was my favorite because I loved Entei.
Entei.
Yeah,
he's my
Entei.
favorite legendary.
I know, and he was and he had that little girl in there. I know this might be triggering, but I also really like the Fate Stay Heaven's Feels video.
Bruh.
Again, like Demon Slayer, the studio is known for not paying taxes, which is why the animation blows you out of the water. But those are really good movies, and I haven't seen the newest Heaven Fields movies, but each one of them I'm like, somebody died making these scenes because they're too good.
Yeah, I've heard
Like,
that with
that's
Fate Stay. So for Fate Stay fans, I fucking hate Saber. You'll never change my mind. Bitch is bland. But I really...
You mean King Arthur?
Oh, whatever, dude. I really like Gilgamesh. I like Rin, and my favorite is
Gilgamesh.
Ilya. Ilya is what makes the show for me.
I love Gilgamesh.
Yeah, Gilgamesh is so fucking hot.
I know, I love him.
He's
like
really-
anime
he's awesome.
Virgil. That's basically him.
Yeah, he's like Dio Light.
Dio Light. I like that a lot. But yeah, that's pretty much all I really have. Like, I mean, I have a bunch of other ones, like, and they're all just basically the same, the directors. So I'll just list off the ones I wrote that I really love, like Castle in the Sky, Kizumonogatari, Boy and the Beast, Perfect Blue, Sailor Moon movies, Red Line, Howl's Moving Castle, Wolf Children, Akira, and then Sword of the Stranger was the only other one I mentioned that doesn't have any of the same directors, but that is a Bones anime, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Bones as in like
the studio Bones.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Bones comic. I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Do you remember those little comments of Bones? They're so good.
No, Sword of the Stranger was basically like, did you ever watch that Dororo anime about the...
Oh, I've seen it. I haven't watched it.
It's basically like that, but an anime movie, and it came out during the time of Full Metal Alchemist. It's really good.
Have you seen the amazing, wonderful Captain Tyler or whatever?
No.
Oh, it's very old anime. It's pretty good. The amazing, incredible Captain Tyler. I don't remember what it's called, but something like that. But it's really good.
The Amazing Captain Tyler. I've seen the Amazing
something like that.
Spider-Man.
Something like that.
Yeah, but anyways, those are some great movies if you guys ever want to check them out. Do not watch I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. You can if you want, but if you want to watch a movie that came out during that time, just watch A Silent Voice. Even though it wasn't.
I watched A Silent Voice. Everybody hyped it up too much for me.
Yeah.
I was expecting something incredible, amazing, and then I was like, okay.
I did too, but it's because I think I misinterpreted the film.
That's what I think too.
I wanted most of it to be about the deaf girl. I didn't care about the guy. And everyone's like, well, the story isn't about her. The story's about him redeeming himself.
Well, and it was supposed to be about like, a lot of people in my community said they were bawling. It's going to be the saddest movie I've ever watched. And so I watched it. I didn't cry once. I was like, oh man, that sucks. But I was like,
I teared up when she was like, trying to go out the window.
You can
or whatever.
tear up, but like, I didn't like, when I tell you I cried more in Wolf Children, like I was bawling when I watched Wolf Children. I wasn't bawling when I watched A Silent Voice.
I was like, I want a half wolf baby. That's all.
But also that could be like, could be because I hold grudges. So I didn't like the main character at all. I don't care if he redeemed himself. I don't care what it was. I was like, what you did was unacceptable. Like I will never like you.
Yeah. I mean, I hate all my bullies from when I was a kid still, even though they're probably redeemed themselves in some way. I'm like,
well, exactly. That's the thing. It's like, I don't care, bro. You know, like
But
That's
I
great.
also
He
think the
redeemed
reason why
himself,
the
but
anime community kind of resonated with it is because they are all bullies.
oh
They're like, I can be
Jesus.
a piece of shit on the internet because eventually I'll redeem myself. That's probably why.
I mean, and I get redeeming yourself, and it's great if people redeem themselves. Like all the power to you, but you don't have to forgive someone, especially if they've like done things
Especially
to hurt
so.
you. And it was kind of weird because she like didn't want to have anything to do with him, and he kept pressuring her into having things like being in her life, and she obviously didn't want it. And so
Yeah.
it was a very weird experience. Not saying it was like a bad movie. I think it was quite realistic and like genuinely a good
It's
movie.
not realistic.
But
No man redeems himself that early in life. He's in high school. Okay. Maybe wait until he's like 30 and divorced and realize he was mean his whole life. Like there you
But
yeah. For
it's
me,
like
it's like I didn't resonate with it like other
yeah,
people
exactly.
did.
I was like, because if someone did that to me, and that's because like I'm also Turkish, so I would have slammed their head into the desk, you know?
I've done that before. I got suspended in junior high because I slammed my ex-boyfriend's head into a locker because he had an I Hate Lisa party, but I was 12 years old. I don't have to redeem myself now because
He deserved
he
it.
deserved it. Also, I think we're friends now, so sorry. Had to tell people. Didn't give him your name though. Anyways, let's dip into, because I can't repay for my parking, so I'm just gonna quickly go through these two tweets that I have. Bad anime tweets, guys. Da da da. All right. This tweet I really hate. It says, reminder on this app that Gurren Lagann is a series carried by hype with no heart at all and gets an L from everywhere. That had over 400 quote retweets.
Shit, man. I haven't watched Gurren Lagann. All I know is that Yoko's 14.
Here's the thing about Gurren Lagann, though, is even if you didn't like it, it is the primal definition of a passion project. For me, it's like I love it because there's nothing I love more than when you can see somebody put all their love and heart into a video game or an anime.
Sure.
You can tell when someone
sure.
genuinely enjoyed what they did. One of my reasons why I had an issue with Final Fantasy Remake is that at some point in the game, it felt like a cash grab more than a passion project.
It is. Final Fantasy VII is a cash grab. 2, they make their money by fueling ship wars.
Yeah,
So they constantly fuel each side. So they fuel each side of the ship war. They come out with a bunch of figures. They're like, oh, buy these figures. And then the problem with, and I love Square Enix, and I'm sponsored by Square Enix, but they really like money.
Yeah.
They love money.
And so for me, it was like, you can't watch a series and not see the heart that they put into it.
Yeah.
That person deserved every quote retweet ever. So that is my one opinion on that one. I would dip into it more, but I don't want to get a parking ticket.
And I don't want to get my, no. I could talk about Square Enix and a lot of their money tactics all day because it really does hurt the fan base, and it's really unfortunate,
Listening. Not Netflix, just Square Enix.
But I love Square Enix. I love the games. I've always wanted to work with them.
Your criticisms.
But yeah, and I feel like that's a big thing too. Like people be like, "You're sponsored by them. You're not allowed to say what bothers you." It's like, no, I'll say it. If they unsponsor me for that, then like that's fucking ridiculous. You know, like they sponsored me for a reason. They sponsored me because I voiced my opinion. So
because you love Tifa, that's why they really sponsored you.
Yes, that's the truth. That's the truth. Actually, they saw how much I love Tifa, and they're like, you know what? Get this girl a sponsorship.
Another tweet that I had was actually by a streamer, a big one, and I won't say their name, but they said that they dropped Mob Psycho because the animation was terrible and one of the worst cartoons they've ever seen in their life. Now, here's the thing. We go back to where I was saying where if something is overrated, what you mean it just didn't hit for you. Just because you didn't like the art style and the animation of something doesn't make it bad. But the thing is, too, is in a technical sense, Mob Psycho is one of the greatest pieces of animation to come out in the last 10 years. But this person was like, it is so bad. I couldn't even get through it. It was just so terrible. It's the worst thing I've ever seen.
That's me with Fate.
But that is understandable because Fate is also a cash grab in a sense. Most of those UFO table things are. But like this is something that they took I don't want to say poorly drawn because one is an inspiration to a lot of artists. They took a manga that was not very well produced or webcomic and turned it into what it is today, one of the greatest animations. And this is not a biased opinion, even though I have a Mob Psycho tattoo on my hand. It is literally one of the greatest pieces of animation to come out. So for someone to go out of their way, especially with a giant platform to say, It was so worst thing they've ever seen. Really? The worst. Anyways.
I feel like a lot of these takes,
yeah,
they're put on for Twitter engagement.
This person's entire platform is to do that. And then they later apologized, but still said everyone was wrong because it was bad, which I thought was really funny. I'm like,
I feel
that's
like
an apology.
it raises your engagement whenever you say something controversial on Twitter.
Of course. It's the same reason why people post bad TikToks, and it's dumb. I say there's too much bad content out there. Just be happy and nice to people. We should just always leave on a lesson. Last week was world peace. This one is just don't be mean. Just don't be mean. Be careful about what you say, especially with a big platform. You. Without the meanness. Anyways. Great episode today, ARUUU. Yeah. So happy to see you in the studio again.
I know.
And
see you guys in 4 months.
Yeah, see you in December for our Christmas-themed episode. If there's anything you guys want to talk about, or questions, or hot takes, or whatever, leave comments in below. And have a good night. Bye.
Bye.